we're back. We got the FiiDO Q1s with the dual crown suspension forks. It's got a 60-volt battery. We got a 3200 watt dual phase motor. Well, it's really dual input motor. We love calling it dual phase. So it's got two inputs, one on each side, and it's got a single Hall sensor setup. So you're gonna need a proper controller, and that is why this is a YYK build. This was developed 4 or 5 years ago in Singapore. The big wheel scooters in Singapore was the #1 high-speed scooter spot in the world for many years. This would not exist without Singapore. High-speed scooters would maybe not exist without Singapore. Singapore 3 years ago was the #1 place in the world for scooters. Today it is the 0 place for scooters because they got outlawed by their essentially communist government. This is the only real custom part of this build is the dampening mount. So I had to basically tie in the front handlebar situation dampener with the fork. So what I did here is use like a strong tie, and I welded that down and give it a little angle and gave it some support in here just to make sure it was going to be really super solid. Plus I get some mountings for my lights, of course, and horns. But it actually turned out really well. This dampener I got from a guy in the South. His name is Brandon. Brandon from a Rhino PEV. He sold me this, and he sold me that motor actually. I paid slightly more than I would normally getting it directly from China, but you know, you want to support the community. So if you're looking in the southeast of the United States and you're looking for a FiiDO or a FiiDO build, you can contact Brandon at Rhino PEV. He's your guy for the southeast United States. So more close up here, you can just get a little details of like what's going on. And as you can tell, the only real questionable issue with this build and with these forks is the limitation of the turning. You are hitting the frame. But that's not a big deal because I've ridden this enough and you're not really turning this tight. The only real limitation it gives you is, you know, trying to drive it around your parking lot or something. You know, you can't really like get a hard 90-degree turn. But generally speaking, the ride is great, fits good, good A+ for sure. Okay, so we got full disc caliper brakes with Magura. With Shimano brake handles. So that's basically a Shimagura bike brake setup. If you don't know, Magura is a great company, a German company, but they are shit because they want to make their very specific for them. So what you do is you take a Magura brake caliper and you put on a Shimano style brake, then it's good. Then it's good. We've got the high level light here, and we got the horn and light combo down here. Just general running and wake people up with the horn. Back here we got active tail flashy lights, and then of course some running lights in general. The important part is also the fenders. So these are actually 12-inch lowrider fenders for lowrider bikes. Fender also here mounts pretty well to the rear. It doesn't give you coverage back here, but there is another way of covering that later. More details coming off is there's a hard plastic under here for the battery, and a hard plastic down here. You know, keep you clean. Get some acrylic and then use a heat gun, and the heat gun will let you form it to the frame. So this is actually a PCB box for electronics running along here, and I mounted that. So it's actually a split box, it splits. So I can literally take some screws off and take the whole part off in one and deal with the wiring and then reattach it. It is almost impossible to do the wiring all inside this and make it look clean. That's why most of these you see, this whole inside down here is full. This is actually where most people put the battery and the controller and all that stuff. But to me, that's not what this is all about. This is about looking really cool and hella confusing people. Because when people walk up to you and say, "Where is the motor?" You're like, "Oh," it's pretty funny. When people ask you so many questions, they're very confused. They're like, "What is that? How does that work?" So yeah, it's very easy. Motor, controller, battery, throttle. That's all you need, really. Well, you need a little more than that, but I suggest some brakes, I suggest some turn signals, things like that. But generally speaking, I mean, this is really all you need. This gets you 20 miles easy, going 40, 45. You know, you max it out going 50, you're probably going maybe less than 20 miles. But generally speaking, on a daily basis, the ride is actually a lot better than I expected. A lot of times you're building this thing, you're making this thing, you think it's gonna be cool, and then you get done and you're like, this is garbage, I can't ride this. This is actually pretty good, I have to say. I'm actually happily impressed with the rideability and capability, and it's not too difficult to ride. It's definitely different. If you've never ridden a motorcycle, it's a big surprise. But if you have ridden a motorcycle, you get that dive when you brake. So you're getting a significant drop of 2 inches or so when you hit a hard brake, and it's getting scary when you're gonna fly over the handlebars. But as long as your handlebars are, you know, solid, you'll probably be okay, probably. The ride's good, needs a little work, but I'm gonna list it pretty soon for $4,000. See what happens. If this sells and everybody likes it, we're gonna, the next level is a dual motor FiiDO with basically as fast as I can make it. All right, thank you, have a nice day.